Good afternoon, everybody. It's Lisa, and welcome to week 3. I just wanted to go through a couple of things today. I'm actually not going to talk about discussion number 3. It's about some added sugar. I want you to look through some of the documents on the content section, and also you'll be listening to an NPR segment regarding soda in America. And I think it's pretty straightforward. You guys did a great job last week, really insightful, thoughtful posts and response. So just keep that up. Just keep in mind the initial posts are due by Wednesday. And I will be grading those throughout this week, so just so you know that. What I want to do very quickly is just go through some of the major points of the food pyramids. Many of you hit on this stuff, but I do want to just kind of highlight some stuff. I want to hit the big differences I feel when I look at these three guides. And I think one of the biggest ones is going to be milk and calcium. I think the Harvard pyramid or the Harvard plate really focuses on the fact that milk, like it says, is not the only or even best source for calcium. And I really do think my plate really does not highlight that at all. They really focus on dairy here. And some of you touched on this, but if you read through these websites, I think you will get a sense that a lot of this has to perhaps do with some of the dairy lobby. So here you can see there's all pretty much dairy here. They do make mention of a soy beverage, but in Harvard with calcium, they say, you know, leafy greens, broccoli, those things are also very rich in calcium, beans, tofu. And they even, if you dig a little deeper here, you will find that they recommend that supplements are okay. So I think that's really important. Then they go through some other things to keep in mind when you're talking about bones. They give here an explanation why the milk and dairy recommendation on Harvard is different than my plate. So you can click on that and look if you'd like. The other big one, I think, is if you go to, let's see, the grains, and I think most of you really picked up on this, or a lot of you. Here they say in the government guide, they say make half of your grains whole. And when you look on, either if you're looking on the Mediterranean or Harvard, they do say, and I'm lost it here somewhere, let's see. When they're talking about grains, they talk about, let's see, trying to make all of your grains whole. So that really eliminates a lot of this processed cereal, a lot of this added sugar and all that kind of thing, where my plate does not take such a heavy hand on that. Let's see. What I really like about the Mediterranean pyramid, excuse me, if you click on it, it's very simple, but it pretty much highlights here at the base that if something grows out of the ground, eat it in abundance. And I think that's the really big take-home message with the Mediterranean pyramid. I also really like how they talk about just encouraging happy, fun activity, eating together as a family, all these kinds of things. They also highlight herbs and spices, so it's a really, as simple as it is, I think they give some really good important messages. The other thing in general is if you look at Harvard and my plate, a lot of you hit on this too. My plate, protein foods, they're just going to group everything together from beef to almonds, as you can see. And when you look at the other ones, they kind of break it down a little bit further, saying that beans are not equivalent to beef and they should be looked at differently. So that's that with the pyramids. Let me just close some of these out. Last week we also looked at food labels, and I just want to highlight maybe one thing here from the label reading PowerPoint, and this is the added sugar, and we'll also be talking about that this week with carbohydrates. When you're looking at a food label, and a good example of this is yogurt. So naturally occurring sugar versus added sugar. When you're looking at a label of yogurt, you could look at a carton of plain yogurt with nothing else added, and it may have about 7 to 9 grams of sugar on the label, and that is a naturally occurring sugar. That's lactose. There's not much you can do about that, but it's really the added sugar that we're concerned about. And when you look at many, many yogurts, you will see it has lots of different forms of sugar, and that's where you have to be careful. When you're looking at a label, take the grams of sugar, divide it by 4, and you can visualize how many teaspoons are in it. And that's always a good practical way of just visualizing how much sugar is in a product. This is not a comprehensive list of other names of sugar, but these are some other names you should look for when you're looking at yogurt. I know if you look at something like Dannon, a regular Dannon, you might see one of the first ingredients is sugar. Then you'll see fructose. Then you'll see high fructose corn syrup. Then you'll see maltodextrin. Those are all forms of sugar. If there's strawberries in there, that's going to be a naturally occurring sugar. So I just wanted to make that distinction there. The other thing is this document right here, this Tricks and Truths. I think this is a great document when looking at some of the ways that food companies really stretch the truth. And I see this all the time in my classes, my in-class classes, when I have students bringing in food labels, and they bring in Pop-Tarts, and I ask, is this healthy or is it not healthy? And they say, I do think it's healthy because I am getting 20% of my fiber. And, not to knock the foods that people are eating, but I really think we fail to see the true picture here, because there are these, whole grain guaranteed, 20% fiber. Like it says, added nutrients, camouflage junk. What is Pop-Tarts? It's a lot of refined grains and a lot of added sugar, preservatives, etc. So I wouldn't be too impressed by the fact that it's got this added fiber in it. It's just, like it says, camouflaging some junk. The other one that I really like to focus on here is this. When you see a label that says less sodium or less fat, it doesn't mean very much, because like it says right here, the first can has less sodium than the regular version. It says less sodium, but it still packs 710 milligrams per serving. It's just that it's less sodium than the original, which has 1,230 milligrams of sodium. So that can be very deceiving. I think the bottom line is, forget what they say on the front of a package, turn it over, and see what is in the ingredient list. That's the most important thing. Okay? And then lastly, this week we're talking, now we're talking about carbohydrates this week. And it's pretty straightforward. Let me just see if there's anything I want to highlight here. Again, the added sugar. When we're talking about good versus bad carbs, the added sugar is the #1 thing to target, as well as the refined grains. Here I show you a whole grain, and there's an explanation here on the bottom about what is taken away when a food is processed, or when a grain is processed, and so you can look over that. This slide here, I would absolutely look over for the test. There's the 2 types of fiber, the insoluble, the soluble, and what does that do in your body, and where do you get it? For the most part, soluble and insoluble fiber, which we also just call, both together is called dietary fiber, you will find naturally both occurring at the same time in foods. But you want to know the insoluble fiber, it increases fecal bulk. It's pretty much the one that you want to get if someone has constipation. You want to really increase the insoluble fiber. The soluble fiber is the one that really can lower blood cholesterol. It can delay stomach emptying, so it will make you feel full longer, so it helps with weight loss. And slows glucose absorption, so very, very important with someone with diabetes. Talking about fiber here, how much we should be taking in. Average U.S. intake is about half of what we should be taking in. When you're doing your 3-day analysis, I would not compare yourself to the typical American intake, not the best reference. We're pretty low on fiber in general. This is just Rex on how to get more fiber. And then here, you'll need to look at this for this week's discussion. Added sugar, 6 teaspoons a day for women, 9 for men max. When you look at the sugar shockers, you will see how easy it is to get the 6 teaspoons. Take special notice of ketchup. Ketchup has quite a bit of sugar, and 6 teaspoons is not a lot. Here's another slide giving you more names of added sugar. So these are really good to look at in addition to the label reading. So that's it for this week. I always find the NPR segment to be really interesting and a lively conversation. So enjoy the week, and as always, please let me know if you have any questions. Take care.